going on, everyone? This is Matt, SqueakyClean Air, and today we are going to be bagging Steven's 10th Gen Accord. Stay tuned. All right. Here it is. Beautiful, beautiful. Same suspension as the 11th Gen TLX Simplicity Accord. Here you go. That's his Instagram. If you guys are interested, it's going down. It's going down on SqueakyClean Air suspension. High performance air struts. It's going to be a beauty. These cars slam on the ground. If you want to go really crazy aggressive camber, you do need some modification to the top hats, but these are just enough for this VIP build. We're going to give him just enough of an adjustment for him to be able to get it nicely cambered. Just enough. He doesn't want to do camber gang style, but if he wants to, we could get it done. But that requires modification to the top. A lot of you guys know you need to slot the top in order for the top pillow balls to move further down in order to give you more camber. Plus, you can get shortened spindles. Actually, no, there's no spindles for these cars. Never mind. All right, so cool. Check this out, guys. If you go here. No, maybe not on this side, on the other side. Oh yeah, over here. You can actually see it. No, let me go to the other side. I want to kind of give you guys a little bit of history lesson. Showa suspension. Showa suspension right here. Look at this. Honda Showa suspension. Showa is like the JDM brand, man. They make performance stuff. They make a lot of the private labeling for a lot of the Japanese brands. Now, keep in mind, majority of Japanese stuff is no longer made in Japan. It's primarily made in China or Taiwan. Yes, whatever. But Showa is well known. Showa does a lot of bike suspension. I believe Showa at one point did Mugen, and Showa at one point did a lot of HKS stuff and stuff like that. So Showa is like the JDM brand that a lot of private makers go to in order to manufacture their suspension. And here you go, Showa suspension on this Accord. So it's kind of cool. You guys should do some research in regards to Showa. But anyways, we got the fronts almost out. Very simple to do. Remove the sway bar end link. This car, it's easier for us is because it's lower than I-box springs, which means that the actual distance of the shock is a lot shorter. We all know that when you are begging or when you are working on a car that has been already lowered, it's super simple because of the fact that the actual length of the shock is a lot shorter. So there's a lot of steps we'll probably not need to employ in this particular case because this suspension will allow us to slide it out. So if you are going from springs or coilovers, obviously it's a lot easier to bag your car because it's a lot easier to remove the components. If this was a car that came with factory springs, it would be probably a little bit longer, which would make it a lot harder to remove from the lower yoke, which most likely you would need to remove the lower control arm, sway bar, not sway bar, but the tie rod over here, and then it would allow you to sort of move the yoke down and then slide it out from the factory suspension and remove it. But in our case, it's a lot easier. So these ones are almost done. The front's almost done. Part 1, we're probably going to focus on removing the factory suspension or the suspension with the I-box springs, putting in the fronts and the backs, and probably tomorrow we're going to focus on running the lines and give you some more information in regards to that, running lines on this car and stuff. So it's on the lift. Yeah, so this is pretty easy for the front. So we're going to go ahead at it. I just wanted to share with you guys the fact that it's Showa. Beautiful wheels. I can't wait to have this thing on the ground. Stay tuned. Oh, and as always, that's right. I think Steven occasionally takes it out in the winter. It's not really winter driven. So, it probably is not going to get a lot of salt exposure, but I mean, look at it. This is pretty much brand new and mint. Because he takes really good care of his car. As you can tell, everything's nice, clean, and meticulous. So we're going to do due diligence, like always, whenever we do installations. And it's very important for you guys as well, especially if you do live in the snow belt, to put lube in your lower mounts, because you don't want these lower mounts to seize. This is the most common form of failure, not including, you know, the pillow ball upper mounts, which is a common issue with a lot of major brands, because the pillow ball balls are weak. But one thing you can do to prevent, you know, your lower mount seizing to the shaft of the actual shock and being able to fully adjust them whenever you want. Now with bags, not as much, because once you kind of get them adjusted, they kind of stay, because most of the adjustment is done with the actual air spring, right, based on pressures and stuff like that. But you still want to have the ability to have most tunable ability in order to adjust your performance air struts. So we always do due diligence and make sure that we put a lot of NTCs in there before we install them out. So don't skimp out. It's cheap, the silver stuff or the gold stuff, which is a little bit more expensive. Gold stuff, the difference between silver and gold stuff is the gold stuff is able to adhere at higher temperatures, but the silver stuff is probably the cheapest one you're going to find, which is the best, works great. And don't skimp out. NTCs your lower mounts and threads. Okay, so while we're putting in the Accord front struts, very, very, very important trick for you guys to know, and that is, because the yoke has a little indentation over here, the screw will go through. Our air struts, probably, let's assume countless other air struts that might be out there, have a little slit in the back. And the reason why you have that little slit is because that little slit will orient the lower mount to go specifically in between the opening here of the lower yoke, and then that will arrange it in a way where it'll top out, and that distance is specifically the same for that distance for the screw to, or the bolt to go through, for your safety. So very, very important, because this one's a little bit bigger than the factory opening. What you got to do is you got to kind of chisel this open. So take one of these guys. I can't live without coffee. Take one of these guys. Would I have it here somewhere? Nope, not here. Oh, chisel with a hammer. Where did I put it, man? Where did I put it, man? Right here. Take one of these guys, put it in through here, and open it up just a slight little bit for it to basically seat itself. And then this will pop in all the way through. I would say probably just a little bit up until here. So just give it a tap with a hammer to open this up, so this aligning slit can pass through, and it'll seat the shock completely down the yoke, and then you'll be able to put the actual bolt through. So let me demonstrate on the other side. Right here. So it drops all the way down, and then you're able to secure it, and then you're able to put the bolt through like over here, and then you have 2 points of safety where it won't turn, won't spin, and it's overkill in my opinion, but why not? And that way you'll be able to line it correctly. So because the factory one is slightly a little bit compressed, obviously, because it's been the shock's been removed, in order for this one to slide correctly, you need to open this up a little bit. So very, very important. If you are installing coilovers, because it would be similar coilovers, and you're not able to put them through, it's probably most likely because this little slit is too tight, and you need to open it up for this aligner to pull through, so then you're able to seat the lower mount correctly. So just a tip for you guys if you run into issues.